If you're watching this show, chances are you use the internet a lot. We all love the World Wide Web, but is the internet at risk? Joining me to talk about all of this is Jonathan Zittrain. He's the author of a new book, The Future of the Internet and How to Stop It. Jonathan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start out with the book. Why did you decide to take this on?
I guess I figured I didn't have enough intellectual enemies. So this book will make at least two sets of enemies. One set of enemies it will make are the internet wants to be free types. Basically anybody under 25 and anybody bearded at MIT who think that it's great to have a technology that anybody can build on at any time. If you've got a great idea, set up a website, try it out, send the people the software, and away you go. And I embrace that too. I love that. But I'm very concerned that the technologies that were built that way, if they stay that way, will end up being abused now that the internet is as mainstream as it is. Exactly the cool parts of the net that allow surprises to come from 12-year-old nerds means that bad surprises can come from any age people who are out to spam us, to give us viruses, to harvest our computer cycles and bandwidth, to turn them into zombies so that the computers are attacking other entities on the internet. If we don't do something about this, then the alternatives, I worry, will be embraced and they will be worse.
And so you're saying the internet can essentially go in two directions.
Correct.
What are they?
One direction is getting abandoned by almost everyone, leaving the internet back in the hands of the nerds while corporate environments, your PC at work, are locked down so that you can't install that nifty screensaver with the flying toasters, or you can't at a cyber cafe run Skype in order to get free internet telephony. Instead, we'll be stuck with appliances, some sterile appliances I call them, like the iPhone, where if anything new is to happen on the iPhone, Steve Jobs is the one that has to make it so. And I would be sad to see this generative world of appliances that aren't sterile, that can give us surprises, turn into one that no longer any surprises. Pretty much what you see is what you get for the next 10 years.
So is the problem then that the internet is just too open?
Well, too open, yes. I guess I'd say that. You see me hesitate because this is going to make me enemies. And I love openness. That's what I like about the internet. But I think we're at a phase now where we can't just expect it to be experimental. That people now want an internet that has the same kind of reliability they expect from an automobile or a refrigerator or a hairdryer. And when it doesn't act that way, and they're presented with alternatives like the iPhone or the Xbox that behave nicely, even though they're not capable of generating much surprising, people will move to them. And that's why I think openness has to be tempered with some actions that will preserve it.
And what kind of actions are you talking about? What's going to prevent this meltdown?
Yeah, well, the other set of enemies I make are when people assume that what I'm calling for is massive government intervention to save us from ourselves. I'm not, at least not yet, calling for that. What I want to see is a project across many people developing on the internet to develop community-based ways to give us tools to help each other avoid the really bad things. Now, this starts to sound awfully hippie, but I'm lucky that something like Wikipedia exists. Wikipedia, a crazy idea, a free encyclopedia that anyone can edit at any time, and that's going to generate lots of articles. That's crazy, and yet it works. But it works because it's been able to evolve from its initial total openness to have some tools so that self-proclaimed Wikipedians can help eliminate vandals, can revert articles that have been subverted in some way with lies in them or whatever it may be. And that's the kind of tool set we need for the internet as a whole.
Then now that's easy enough for a site to do. How do you do that for the entire World Wide Web?
It's a challenge, but the lucky thing is that any entity on the web is capable of communicating with any other entity. That's the magic of the internet. So what it means is we can set up, interestingly, using some of the very tools of spyware, devices on our computers, software, that will actually record their vital signs and how they're doing and relay that back to all other participating PCs. And then when you encounter a fragment of code on the net that might be terrible or it might be the next great thing, you can actually ask the rest of the herd, when was this last seen? Is this from yesterday or is it from 2 years ago? How are you doing after you install it? Do you get happier or less happy? And by being able to query the rest of the herd, just like we have social cues that tell us if a street is safe to walk down, if a movie theater is safe to enter, we can start to cultivate those cues for the technologies that we use as well.
And so what do you want when people read this? What do you want them to take away from that? Should we be inspired then to start regulating the internet?
No, what I want them to take away is that if they treat these technologies as mere consumers, where they expect there to be a toll-free number to call when something goes wrong or to write a check to somebody to make it all better, that's what they'll get. And that means a world that no longer has the kind of innovation that the internet has produced, that just is stable and fine, but not very interesting. On the other hand, if they're willing to devote a few machine cycles or a little bit of their expertise, in essence, metaphorically, picking up a little bit of litter when they see it in the park and putting it in the trash can, that willingness can be tapped with new tools to produce an internet that is able to generate the next round of innovation.
How on earth can you get the entire world to cooperate with something like that? I mean, you're counting on a lot of goodwill there and also a lot of innovation and time from individuals.
I know it sounds naive, but it's almost like the concept of herd immunity. It doesn't require everybody on board. It requires enough people on board so that the rest of us sort of see where the path is and can follow along as well. Most people who use Wikipedia aren't editing the pages. They're just copying it into term papers and having to learn about plagiarism. But there's a critical mass of people who outnumber the people who want to vandalize or trash Wikipedia, that then the commons is preserved for everybody. And that's basically the idea for what we can do for the net.
Goodwill online. I'd like to see it. Thank you so much for joining us.
A pleasure. Thanks so much.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Yanju Denise in Washington, and now you are ahead of the curve.